Howdy folks, Little John out in the brewery, and I'm about to keg up the New England IPA. This is the kit base off the Black Rock Pilsner, Blonde Pilsner. So I'll link up the original brew day video, so it's there. So since the brew day, for those who have watched it already, I have dry hopped twice, day 2 and end of day 5, and that has now been sitting. It's been, I actually haven't tracked the days completely. I think it's been 6 days since that second dry hop. So the original dry hop has now been in there for 9 days. This has been cold crashing for the last 2 days. I wasn't going to cold crash, but I didn't get around to bottling or kegging this when I wanted to. So, but what I'm going to do, put this one's going to the keg. I want to just try and do a minimal oxygen transfer. Now, okay, that's straight out there. There's a little bit of crud in there. I'm seeing the line is sort of just sitting on the bottom of the tap, so it's possibly pulled a little bit of crud through. And the nose is a little bit restrained considering, but that's all good. I'll stick a hydrometer in that. We'll just check that a bit later. I did a quick taste on this the other day before I did the cold crash, and it did seem to be quite bitter. Now, I don't know whether that's just because there was just so much hops in there at the time and was just, it's all I was getting, or whether that's a process issue. But I can't see from the process that would be the problem. So I'm going to have this transfer happening anyway, and then I'm going to we'll have a look at it and we'll check out what our final numbers are at. So we've got the other camera down here. So what I'm doing, obviously this is just a standard fermenter, so I haven't done a closed ferment. It hasn't been done under pressure, so I can't do a pressure transfer. So I'm just going to do simply, I'm going to purge the keg of oxygen with some CO2, and siphon into the keg as I would with any other beer, but with that oxygen in the keg. Now, a lot of people do this as a standard practice. I've never worried about it, and I've not had an issue with oxidation on brews previously. So, but this is again, it's just to have a bit of a look at it, play around, and just give you guys at home a bit of a look at one way of trying to minimise oxygen. If you haven't got a pressure system, then pressure ferment an all-rounder or a Firmzilla or Keg King Jr. or whatever bloody brand or whatever it is. If you haven't got one of those and you're still using a standard fermenter, this is one way to try and minimise that oxygen contact, particularly if you're doing the NEIPAs. So let's switch over to the other camera. Okay, so keg. So I've got 9 litre keg. I've got about 11.5 litres in the fermenter. I'm looking at this. I'm not going to get the last 2 litres out, so I've got about 9.5 litres possible. I haven't looked at the actual top of the brew. I will do that before I go, but I'm looking at getting about 9 litres over. So get my hose onto going onto the end of the bottling wand, because I've picked the hose, which is it's a narrower hose, and it's not going to go onto the tap. So I want to feed it into the keg, as always down to the bottom, trying to reduce any splashing. Now the whole point of going this method is to avoid that splashing being too much of an issue. So I'm going to pop the lid on there just to give a little bit of cover. Okay, so I'm just going to feed some gas into this just to purge out the oxygen from the keg. Now I don't really know how much I need, I've never done this before, so okay, well I'm going to say that's probably enough. Either way, the gas is heavy enough so it should push oxygen out as it fills, and we just transfer as per normal from this point. It's a normal sort of a flow, so, and that'll just go on. So while that's going on, I just want to have a bit of a look on the top here. Now I'm not worried about opening the lid here because this actually felt like it was sealed, but I'm not going to pull any oxygen from the top here. I just want to see what the top of this looks like. Okay, it's fairly clean, so I can take pretty much the whole amount out of this fermenter. As I said, I initially wasn't going to worry about cold crashing this one, but when I checked it after about 3 days of that second dry hop, there was just a bloody massive hop and stuff still sitting on top of it. So I had to decide I'd dry hop it to get it out, bloody cold crash it, to drop all that nonsense out of it, and it seems to have dropped out reasonably well. So that's draining out. There's no oxygen in the line. It's fairly clean. There's a little bit initially. That should just bleed off, and that CO2 blanket in there should push it out. So hopefully there's no oxygen left in the keg with the beer, and we're not going to get any oxidation. Still getting clean beer here, which is a good sign. Not dragging anything, I don't think it's dragging too much off. Okay, we've hit the bottom there, that's going to start pulling too much oxygen. I'll stop that. Let the oxygen feed back out of here into the fermenter, which I'm now not going to use. Alright. And I'm going to pull this hose out. And we should be able to get this out without getting any of that what is now oxygenated beer into the keg. It should stay in the line, which it has done. Gotta love science. Okay, so now we just put the lid on properly, seal it up, and purge the keg now to get the last of any air out of there. Bang, and she's good. I'll throw okay, about 16 psi gas on that. And she's all good. Keg done. Should be no oxygen in there at all. Beautiful. I could force carb that now if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. And I'm not going to do that because I now want it to take its time to sit, gas up, and get the flavour to come on. So, looking at the final gravity here, we're at 246, about 1017. It's cold, probably 1018, it was 1018. It was 1018 actually when I did the last dry hop, and it's still pretty much in that sort of point. So we'll call it 1018. It's probably a point in the coldness. So it's dropped 39 points. So it's 3.9, 12, 5.1. Yeah, so it's about 5.1, 5.2%. Could have been a little bit higher, but I'm happy enough with that. I thought it may have gone a little bit lower, but obviously not. So that's a learning point for next time anyway. Not too concerned about that. Yeah, I'll get him out of there. So ideally I probably would have aimed for maybe a couple of points higher. I would have rather this been about 5.5, 5.6%. And if I was going to bottle and carbing it, then I'd have that. But on the keg, I'm not going to gain anything extra. So yeah, so ideally I would have been looking for 1061, 1062 as a starting gravity to sort of get up to that point I wanted to, but it is what it is. It's the first go on a bird kit base, so I'm not going to complain. Now, as I said, it's there's only a real little bit of crud in that, not much at all. During the transfer, it did look quite clean. You can see there on the video, it's nice and clear. It's obviously it's quite cloudy. But it did look to be clean coming off. I've left probably the best part of a litre in the fermenter. I'll have a look what too much crud's in there. Yeah, it's a fair old pile of it. So I probably didn't want to go really any further. I could have got another probably half a litre, but if I tilted and stuff, but it's all good. Now, the nose is coming up a little bit as it's warming. Okay, now it's still fairly bitter. So it's not as bitter as it was a couple of days ago. So when I took that sample before I cold crashed, so it's starting to have an effect. And this is, one thing I want to really have a look at this is how this hop profile is affected over the coming weeks. I don't actually have a tap available on the fridge. At the moment I've still only got the 3 taps running. So I'm holding out now. I've discovered that Keglander got an 8-tap, a 2-font, 2-door kegerator coming out late November. So I'm thinking I'm going to dive on one of those for Christmas this year. Seeming the missus managed to avoid it last year, getting a kegerator. So I'm thinking this year I'm going to do that. So I've held off, bastardising any of the fridges anymore, and adding more taps to them. I've got the tap sitting here. I've got another 3 Nuka taps sitting here to go to the 6 taps. I've got all the fittings and whatnot. But I'm going to hold now, I think, till I get that, till I go that double font and get the 8 keg set up going. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to pull the culture, there's extract culture on there, which I've commented on is needs a little bit more time. So I'm thinking I'm going to pull it off, stick this fella on that tap, and what I want to do is just taste this each week going forward, and see how these hops change and how that flavour improves or alters as it goes. As I've commented many times, I strongly believe that any beer needs 3 weeks. Hoppy beers need 3 weeks for the hops to settle. I'm starting to find that on the Pacific Ale. It's starting to develop nicely. It's gone from being, you know, harsh hoppy, you know, driven beer to the flavours are starting to come up, and you can actually start to notice a little bit of the passion fruit from the Galaxy. And I'm thinking this is going to do the same thing. At the moment, this is just harsh hop bitterness. There's not any real flavour there. So I'm expecting that to develop over the coming weeks. So I'm going to take, I said, I'll get on the gas, I'll take a sample sort of once a week, and do that. So the review, when I do a review, it's going to be probably in 4 to 6 weeks time. And I have a little bit of it on each week on that video. So it's going to be a little while before I actually do an actual tasting and a review on this, because I want to go right through that process and do it all in one go, as opposed to, you know, maybe doing a second video. So that's it. Black Rock Pilsner based NEIPA with what was Galaxy Lemon Drop and the Pink Boots hops, double dry hopped. So hopefully she'll turn out alright. So as always, you got any questions or any comments, stick them down the bottom. Big thumbs up to the Patreons. Cheers guys. Again, this is particularly this sort of thing. This is what I'm able to, I'm able to do because of the support of the Patreons. Wasn't for Patreons, this stuff I wouldn't be doing this. This wouldn't happen. So big shout out guys. Big thanks to all the subscribers. Thumbs up everybody. If you aren't a subscriber, hit the button down there in the corner. Join up. Come along for the ride. If you're interested in what Patreon's about, jump on the link down the bottom. See what it's about. Maybe it's right for you. There's extra bonuses to go along with that, and a few, videos and things that go along that only Patreons get to see. So it might be up your alley. But other than that, that's Little John. I'm done for the day. So till I see you again, we're drinking beer, talking beer, or brewing beer. Good brewing.